MerKaBa,
Dr. Nelson is a metaphysician, a teacher of the African origins of the ancient wisdom, and a clinician. She is co-founder of the Academy of the Kemetic Education and Wellness, Inc., where she teaches an African-centered educational model for psychological, spiritual, and character development, which is underpinned by the history of ancient Africa, Kemet, and the diaspora as a way of self-knowledge, healing, and health. She's been serving as an adjunct professor at the University of Massachusetts in the Africana Studies Department. She has a Bachelor's of Science in Psychology, a Master's in Social Work, a Master's in the Science of Esoteric Psychology, and Doctor of Esoteric Philosophy, with a concentration in Metaphysical and Kemetic Egyptian Studies. She is an independent researcher of the ancient wisdom teachings and was a member of the Black Gnostic Lodge and Studies for over a decade under the late Dr. Alfred Beagle. She has had the honor of traveling to Kemet under the guidance of Elder Yosef Ben Johannigan and Dr. Clinton Crawford, and to Ghana under the guidance of Drs. Leonard and Rosalind Jeffries and Professor James Small. She is a Shakin Ra master. Dr. Nteri is a gifted wordsmith and Neteru symbologist, and has given important keys for dispelling illusion in the books she has authored, entitled MerKaBa, Building the Lighted Temple, Secrets of Race and Consciousness, African Cosmology, Kemet, The Golden Sun Egg Uncracked, MerKaBa, The Great Pyramid is the Tree of Life, MerKaBa, Kemetic Charisma Celebration, On the Way to Finding Your Soulmate, and finally, the Right Relationship and Forgiveness Process Workbooks. She has given lectures nationally and internationally, which includes the Association and Study of Classical African Civilizations, ASCAC, the Nile Valley Conference, Indigenous African Healers Conference, First World Alliance in New York, Diopian Institute, Melanin Conference, Thankova Conference, Medjugorje Conference, Institute for the Study of Race and Culture. She is the Eastern Region, Massachusetts representative for ASCAC and chair of the Spiritual Development Commission. As teacher and eternal student of the ancient wisdom, her years of experience have made her a first-hand witness to that which both fetters and liberates the soul in its spiritual journey. As a licensed clinician, she has worked in the behavioral mental health field for the last 30 years. She provides counseling and consultation to individuals, couples, families, groups, and agencies. And I'm one of her students, and I'm very proud to introduce Dr. Nteri.
Hotep African family. May I have permission to speak? Sometimes my husband's the eldest one in the house sometimes, so I get into a little murky area if I ask permission to speak when he's going to grant it. But anyway, thank you. I am so excited to be here today. And as introduced, I am Dr. Nteri Nelson, a metaphysician and educator and a clinician. I am excited because we are here to talk about this wonderful celestial in the heavens journey that we are on, and the terrestrial, our earthly journey, and everything in between. And this marks an important occasion. Here in my presentation is on the MerKaBa, the energy body of light, Dimensional Shifting, and it is based on my book, MerKaBa, The Great Pyramid is the Tree of Life, MerKaBa. Just get this. As mentioned, I am co-founder of the Academy of Kemetic Education and Wellness, where I teach an African-centered model for psychological, spiritual, character development, underpinned by our Kemetic science, underpinned by the writings of the Puritan Guru, the pyramid texts, and the Medjugorje Nature. And we are a mystery school, and I have been coming before you over the years, teaching about this Kemetic science, not only here and other conferences, but in our academy. And we have been graduating class after class of initiates in these most profound studies. And some of our students are here today, so we're really blessed in that way. Now, I have been coming, as I said before you, over the years, for many years now, talking about my books and teaching about these books that have been authored about our Kemetic science. MerKaBa, Building the Lighted Temple with Metaphysical Keys to the Tree of Life, Secrets of Race and Consciousness, The Golden Sun Egg Uncracked, my newest book, The Kemetic Consciousness Celebration. Today I am here to talk about MerKaBa, building the energy body of light and dimensional shifting. MerKaBa, the Great Pyramid is the Tree of Life, MerKaBa. And naturally, I can only highlight this most profound science that our ancestors have given us. So I want to encourage all of you to look online to some of the YouTubes that we have there that maybe can go in a little more depth today, as well as we will have an online class starting in January, and to look at the books that we have available here today. I want to start today's presentation with this image. Now, I'm going to say this quote, and to give proper attribution, it is by emily'squotes.com. It isn't about the quote, because many of us have said these words, but let me read them. You think of yourselves as humans searching for a spiritual awakening, when in fact you are spiritual beings attempting to cope with a human awakening. Seeing yourselves from the perspective of the spirit within will help you to remember why you came here and what you came here to do. So many of us have said these words. Professor Small has said, we are gods having a human experience. The words are not new. But moreover, I wanted to bring your attention to the image, because as we learn to indwell the MerKaBa energy body of light, we are re-atomizing ourselves, we are re-solarizing ourselves, we are re-stellarizing ourselves, we are becoming as starlight. We are in this process of Kemetic technology, of making and remaking ourselves as beings of light. Now, the MerKaBa, the Kemetic technology of remaking humans as beings of light, I'm going to highlight these areas. The Great Pyramid of Giza is a symbol of the Tree of Life. The Great Pyramid of Giza is a symbol of the MerKaBa. We will highlight dimensional shifting from a linear tree of life and linear consciousness to indwell the MerKaBa energy body of light, our spherical consciousness, our spherical body. We will see that we're not these linear beings, we are spherical and we are stellar. To reveal the hidden Neteru in the Tree of Life, who assist us in building the lighted temple, and their tools for making and refashioning ourselves as beings of light. Highlighting, completing our light energy circuitry in the secret embrace that is occurring in the union of Ausar and Auset, where within us. Highlight first eye activation and spherical consciousness, our access to the Neteru, the divine qualities of the gods and their corresponding constellational and planetary energies. Highlight the rise symbolizing the resurrection of Heru that is within. And if there is some time and technology serves to do a whirling demonstration as a demonstration of indwelling the MerKaBa energy body of light as we seek to become Aku Ikur, which is excellent spirits. The MerKaBa energy body of light is our vehicle of first eye, spherical consciousness, rebirth, transformation, resurrection, ascension, transport, empowerment, enlightenment, initiation, and service. Now, the Great Pyramid of Giza is a symbol of the Tree of Life. The Great Pyramid of Giza is a symbol of the MerKaBa. The Great Pyramid is called the Mer, or the Mer-Akut in the Kemetic language of Metu Neter. It was built by Nesu King Khufu. And we will see that all of our template corresponds not only celestially, but terrestrially, with the Nile, with the topography of Kemet. All of this is connected. The Tree of Life is our template, our cosmogram of our constitution, which is both human and divine, wherein we are unfolding physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. So in this dimensional shifting from the linear Tree of Life and linear consciousness to indwell the MerKaBa energy body of light, our spherical consciousness and spherical body, this brings us to my first book, MerKaBa, Building the Lighted Temple. Now, when I wrote this, published this book in 1999, Spirit guided me to place this image on the front of the cover. And and then I would go on and write the book. So much was revealed to me at that time. However, much was unrevealed to me. For example, what was this structure of this symbol here? And what were these hidden Neteru here? But I would then dutifully go on and write this book, both linearly and talking about this Tree of Life spherically. And the reader would learn all about MerKaBa, the basics, and then the more complex configurations. So these are the things we've been studying here and other conferences and classes and we teach. That Ka is spirit, Ka takes up the substance of itself to see itself in form, Ba is soul, and Ab is conscience and grow in soul consciousness. So we would learn all about this. We would learn that MerKaBa corresponds with the divine trinity of Ausar, Auset and Heru, and the Tree of Life. We would see this basic configuration here that the Tree of Life is this divine cosmogram, our spiritual constitution, and here you see it laid out with these Neteru not filled in. We would learn about the 7 planes of consciousness, how to indwell, how to move through those states of consciousness, which psychology only stops right here in our development. And finally, we would get the big map dressed up. We would learn about the spiritual anatomy, the chakras, the astrology, the neterology, the glands. We would learn the stages of initiation. We would go through this whole process. Over years of study, it's still unfolding. We would learn about the tree, the tamarisk tree that surrounded the sarcophagus of Ausar, which we dispel as the tamarisk tree. And we would learn that the tamarisk tree corresponds with the Dejekilo. The Pertemru teaches us this. And so this revelation is what informed my writing of this book, the Kemetic Christmas Celebration. And I want to encourage you, as you consider celebrating, as you celebrate Kwanzaa, likewise, I encourage you to consider the celebration of the Kemetic Christmas celebration in this step-by-step guide at the winter solstice. But back to this symbol. So, since 1999, I have meditated endlessly on these symbols, on these words, kept writing, kept teaching, kept reading, kept studying. And finally, it is in 2009 that Spirit revealed more of these symbols. And the MerKaBa is the technology of remaking humans as beings of light is further unfolded, such that I can write this book, Ka'aba, the Great Pyramid is the tree of life, MerKaBa. Now, the Great Pyramid is a tree of life. The tree of life is likewise a symbol of the MerKaBa and the Great Pyramid. So how does the tree of life become this symbol? Well, so let's deal with this structurally and geometrically. Well, first of all, you see the tree of life laid out in a straight line, and what happens is there is a bending back of the tree of life upon itself, like the Nut posture and pose, like the Sankofa symbol, like the double pyramid, the one above and the one below. So above, so below is above. Like the serpent swallowing its tail. And here we see this configuration formed here with the pyramid at the top and the pyramid below as above, so below as above, and the square in the middle. And it's in the square that we are fashioning the character, the physical body, the emotional body, the mental body. We are rounding the edges of our character. We are working on ourselves to become more, first diamond-like, then more spherical-like. And there I am in the gym. We do this advanced yogic. There's symbolism all over in terms of our work. Now, first thing we want to do is talk about these hidden Neteru. Now, Spirit revealed that these hidden Neteru are Nit and Khnemu. And here they are pictured here. And so we see the tree of life filled in here now in this book that has come out in 2009. And you see Nit and Khnemu filled here. Now, who are Nit and Khnemu? Well, both are male and female counterparts. Both are the oldest Kemetic Neteru dating back to pre-dynastic times. Both bear the symbol of the Ankh, the scepter, and the crowns. Both Nit and Khnemu are self-created, creating somethingness out of nothingness. They are at the beginningless beginning, both fashioning humankind. Nit works with the shuttle. Khnemu works with the potter's wheel. Nit, or Nit as she's also called, is considered the great mother and is synonymous with the nature Auset, Heru, and Num. Her name means to knit or to weave, and she is associated with the power of protection, the power to conceive and bring forth the new sun god daily. Khnemu likewise indicates a creative process and means to unite, join, and build. He made the first egg from which sprang the sun, and he made the gods, and he fashioned the first man and woman upon the potter's wheel, and he continued to build up their bodies and maintain their life. He wears the white crown of the south, which is complementary to Nit's red crown of the north. And like the Nesumiti King Namur, in uniting the land of Kemet, these combined crowns are the symbol of unification within us, a kingdom which is both human and divine. So we're going to see how we knit ourselves together. Now, MerKaBa, the Kemetic technology of remaking human beings as light. The MerKaBa Neteru tools of creation, the shuttle, the bow, the arrows, the potter's wheel. The hidden Neteru spheres in the tree of life, building the lighted temple and making and refashioning ourselves, body, mind, and soul. We cannot indwell the MerKaBa energy body of light without the conscious invocation of Khnemu and Nit. More. Nit weaves the little light nits together. These are superatomic particles, like the tiniest of bubbles. So superatomic science is trying to figure out this substance that we're ultimately made of. This is similar to a child blowing long strings of bubbles She is breathing forth strings of what I call in my book, bubbly light, that will become the filaments which her husband, Khnemu, will use to fashion man and woman. They must be perfect before they can be received by her husband on his potter's wheel, who gives them the earthy dust element of densification. Here we have heaven and earth coming together. Consorts, Nit and Khnemu, are working together just as Nut and Geb. Nit provides the sheerest, most luminous garment of interfication. Talk about having fine threads, you know, instead of a dense, coarse vehicle, how to have the finest threads. We think about wearing the finest robes, but what about the thread, very thread that we're made of? Nit provides the sheerest, most luminous garment of interfication in the creation process. Her very name, Nit, when you turn it around, means to interfy, to bring something into entity, to create something out of nothingness. Nit and Khnemu are interfication and densification working hand in hand. Now, I want to call your attention briefly to this. This is what has been called by more of a New Age movement, the flower of life. But this symbol itself is located in Autu, or what's also called Abydos, the temple of Ausar. But you see here the superimposition of the tree of life on this symbol, and I say I'm only going to touch this briefly because we need to continue in our research, and we need to be ever mindful that other folks have our stuff, and we just need to be vigilant about that. But anyway, here is the tree of life superimposed, and here's the tree of life Spirit has revealed to me. Now, there's room for these missing spheres, but you see they've been left out. And like anything, when we are trying to reclaim our wisdom, you know, what does Malafi say? Absence of evidence is an evidence of absence. If you can take 10 of the laws and leave out the other, this is a recurring theme in our reclamation process, to put all the elements back together again, and to be relentless in that, to be relentless in the penetration of these symbols and the reconstruction. So we might ask the question, what worlds built with and without Nit and Khnemu? You know, we've been invoking some of this energy, but what has it meant to be absent this energy? What, without the conscious inclusion of the Neteru, Nit, and Khnemu in the MerKaBa tree of life, we cannot build the lighted, we cannot indwell this MerKaBa energy body of light. This energy body of light is a real entity. It is a real entity. And absent the precision of these Neteru, their adherence to the light and complementary with Sekur and Tahuti. Now, for those of you who study the tree of light, you know, my book talks about how they are complementary with these other Neteru. Could this account for why this world is built askew the divinely intended design? Because we haven't been accessing these energies in maybe this more conscious way. Could this account for the grotesque creation of a separative materialistic world? Now I want to talk a sentence about the famine stela, the poverty, the drought. And so the famine stela takes us to this conversation that is happening with King Ausar with an intermediary with Khnemu. It's about the 7-year drought that has happened in Kemet, and Ausar is complaining that the Nile has only risen so many cubits, which has contributed to the famine. Khnemu in turn complains that, well, his temple has been in ruin, there's been no tribute, there's been no offering, and Ausar promises to rectify that situation in order for there to be increase, abundance, to have the Nile flow at its fullest so that there can be bounty and plenty and abundance. Khnemu Khnemu is the bolt opener of the Nile. And the Nile, as above, so below, so below, so above, the Nile has its correspondence with the Milky Way galaxy. It is Khnemu and Nit that are connecting us with this primordial substance, this primordial energy, this stellar light. The brother who did the libation talked about water. It's water, the waters of space. We're tapping into that impregnable substance that we can impress. Starlight at its most refined appearance. Now, so the MerKaBa, the kinetic energy, technology of remaking humans as beings of light. So we're working now on completing our light energy circuitry in the secret embrace and union of Ausar and Auset. Now what is that? What is that? Well, we saw the bending back of the tree of life upon itself in this symbol. And in that bending back, we now have the uniting of Ausar and Auset. And this is taking place where? In the king's chamber. You see, as above, so below, so below, so above. As on heaven, and so on earth. So you see the king and queen's chamber, the king and queen's chamber. This is the uniting of those energies within ourselves. We talk about the rise of the Kundalini, the fire, the Shechem power, what Europeans call Kundalini. But the Shechem power, how do we knit ourselves together in this process? And with this knitting ourselves together, we now see the rise and resurrection of Heru as we complete our circuitry. In that completing our circuitry, there's this electrification, this atomization, this stellarization back into starlight. So with this union, now we have Heru on the apex of the triangle, at the sun, coming over the horizon. This is the same electrical talk. We must be metaphysicians. This is the same process of uniting the negative and the receptive and the positive to create electricity. We are creating electricity right within our very beings. And so it is in this crowning now, as Heru comes to the horizon, we are crowned with the red and white crown. Why? Because we have united the dualities within. We have united Ka and Ba, mother and father, Ausar and Auset, the North Pole and the South Pole, the red and the white, the positive and the receptive, the masculine and the feminine, in the constitution that is us, both human and divine. So this is what is our seating on the throne, so that we may have that presence on earth. And we talk about when we come in contact with advanced beings, that they have this glow. Well, where's that glow coming from? That glow comes from the fact that they have knit themselves back together again. And in that electrification, we see this solarization and starlight. Then we have in this MerKaBa kinetic technology of making humans as beings of light, access to the part Neteru, the divine qualities of the gods in their corresponding constellational and planetary energies. So here we are riding in and as the chariot of the gods. All of the nature that are within us, all of these qualities of divinity that are represented by each nature, Tahuti, Ma'at, Heteru, have their correspondence with a planet, Mars, Jupiter, Mercury, and with a constellation, Aries, Leo, Pisces. All of that is within us. This presentation reveals the MerKaBa kinetic technology of remaking humans beings as light, and first eye activation and spherical consciousness. So in this knitting ourselves back together again and coming into this spherical consciousness is the ability, and I have over the years come before you with my disco ball. I'm very fond of this because for me it's a symbol of the first eye. And I have talked on a number of occasions, and you can see this on YouTube, of how we come to have this unitive, dualative, and particular consciousness. Not just one type of consciousness, but all of these types. And there are the racial types I have on YouTube. You'll see what that looks like. But it's the ability to see the part, this mirrored frame in relationship to this mirrored frame, and in relationship to this mirrored frame. And we're able to see, as we see the part in relationship to every other part, we are able in consciousness to know one at a timeness, relationship, and simultaneous all at onceness. And that's the ability to see spherically, not linearly, spherically. So I wanted to demonstrate this whirling. So how do we move beyond, here I am in that demonstration, but we'll see what we can do with the technical thing. But, so as we move into this, to indwell our MerKaBa energy body of light, we are atomized into this solarization, into the stellar light, into the fiery mist, into this primordial energy. And this is more than just studies, reading the books. We need to do that, but over time we should see a demonstration in the life of initiation, walking on water, walking on fire, advanced yogic practices. And so what I teach in the academy is this whirling meditation. And in this whirling meditation, there is no, where the whole body is filled with light. How can we whirl? And it is said even biblically, if the eye be single, what? The whole body is filled with light. So we're able to whirl because we can see in all directions. There's no dizziness or nausea because we're not in the bodies that get dizzy and nauseated. We're in a trance when we've transcended those vehicles. We're able to see in all directions. There's a tremendous energy flow, a great feeling of peace and hotep. We're not in the mind that is thinking. We're in the mind of being and becoming. So here I am, and this is on YouTube. We'll see what we can do, but I direct you to the MerKaBa video on YouTube if we don't get a chance. The MerKaBa is the comedic technology of remaking humans as beings of light. Now, this is key. The technology of dimensional shift. We have been in this material consciousness, and I've come before you many times and talked about how we're now in this shift into a re-spiritualization of consciousness. But we are still in this tremendous grip of this material consciousness that dominates the planet. And in that material consciousness, we've been externalizing our capacities. We've been off into this thingness, into this gadgetry of every kind. Our cell phones, our computers. We've been externalizing our memory and our capacities to the point where we don't even remember our mother's telephone number. And what do we do with these things? Well, we throw them away, or we might recycle them. But moreover, what's important for us to do is to see how we are atomizing ourselves. We want to learn how to recycle ourselves. We want to learn how to be atomized into the stellar, fiery substance, this primordial mist. And when we pull back, when we atomize, when we're drawn into this stellar substance, then we're able to see this seeming projection that you think is Dr. Nteri standing here, or that you think is you sitting there. But that's not who we are. That's what we're utilizing, just as, we use this equipment to play a disc, or we are this stellar light, and what we want to learn how to do in this recycling of ourselves is be able to hold that projection, and then through our invocation from the earth, like Kemenu gets the densification going, create and recreate ourselves moment to moment to moment. I want to create myself for this moment, and then the next thing I want to atomize, and I want to recreate myself the next moment, and then I want to reatomize, and I want to draw just what I need from the earthly plane so that I can interface with a more coarse physical plane to bring through the starlight in this moment. We have a new body every 7 years, and just think of the work of Nit and Khnemu. Now, we create our thoughts. We know when we're getting ready to go off on a wrong thought. We can feel that little agitation, little percolation, like someone might come in the room and we might look over there at him or her, and we might start to have one of them wrong thoughts, right? And we can see that thought wobbling up or percolating up. But this is where Nit comes in with her arrow to destroy those thoughts even before they're constituted, so that every thought we have starts with this primal substance in its purest form, without dilution and pollution, but in its purest essence. We have that capacity. We have the capacity to remake our bodies. If we have a stomach that has ulcers, we have the power to heal that body. And we have the power to heal our minds. And we have the power to heal our emotions. You know, our very emotions can create a kind of toxicity. The feelings of bitterness or anger can create that toxicity in the cell. So here we are, MerKaBa and Orion's belt. So as above, so below, so below is above. So you see the correlation here now with Kaaba, the MerKaBa body of light, and the 3 pyramids of Giza. It is through the shafts that we are atomizing ourselves into the starlight. It is through the shafts. Our ancestors gave us the technology of remaking ourselves as being of light. And if we continue in this technological process of externalizing our capacities, I mean, they're making cars now where you won't even drive them. We might as well be in a wheelchair. We might as well, we'll be a saddle, and who's going to own that technology? If we don't own it, we're becoming less and less capable. We're becoming more and more out of work. We are beings of light. And so, what I say is, as we indwell the MerKaBa energy body of light, as we do the work to re-solarize and re-stellarize and re-atomize ourselves into that primordial substance, may your way, may our way be stellar. Duawu, Neteru.
Thank you, Hotel family.
What's up?
I'm going to do a spoken word piece with everyone's permission. All right. So it's called Keys to Build for an Eternity. A circle, a sphere, a cipher, a soul in a body for life, a life. My square was made from stardust, as dark as night until it rusts, with oxygen into a copper complexion. From my inception, I've been a legend. Looking up to heaven, walking on earth, sitting still for hours, contemplating my worth. For what it's worth, I found power in the pyramids. I seem the same looking through the eyes of the little kids. I see primal forces represented by panthers, 10 tigers wild, resurrected bones like necromancers. Calm down and find peace that's serene. Eyes open, but I feel like I'm living in a dream. It would seem sometimes I'm going out of my mind, out of my body, having OBEs, feeling crazy like ODB, meaning material, not purely physical or spiritual. At my essence, I'm ethereal. The whole universe was caused by just one miracle. How do you create something from nothing? How do you turn off the confusion that these thoughts bring? In our confused state of mind, we make moves without stopping to consider the consequences. Consequently, that just further the thirst for knowledge that needs quenching. So, we turn to these lessons from our brethren. or to a Bible and a reverend, constantly worried about survival, or turning to a savior figure to handle our revival into a state of unity, or as the ego would paint it, a state of ambiguity. Each initiation is a depth of illusion. In reality, you have to embody the changes that you are pursuing. Forms can be said to be similar if the angles and sides are congruent, so we build in alignment to structures larger than ourselves to avoid our own ruin. Or is it our salvation to watch the ego fall away, for this curtain to fall on this grand play, where every actor wears multiple masks, where we all want to be first, but who wants to be last? Pain by its nature is transient. It is meant to pass. Unfortunately, so are the good times, so what is meant to last? Keys to build for an eternity, a slight break from our yearning. Patience as the seed matures. With soil, air, water, and sun, it endures. So too will man thrive on this elevated ride to realization. I stay locked into this meditation, grateful to nature and ancestors for my situation. Thank you.
into sacredness, all our gathering in, reascension into sacredness.